Hey everybody, Disgruntled Specialist here. So we are on the fourth video in the series of refining and crafting, just of New World, just to give you some information on what's going on with those. Maybe you can better plan for what you're going to be doing as you progress, or maybe you're just new to the game, you want to see what it has to offer. So we've already covered lumber, the loom, smelter, and now we're getting into stone cutting. So stone cutting is kind of twofold. I believe this is used for, it says it here in the flavor text, upgrade parts of a settlement or fortress. I haven't really gotten to see, other than Talon projects, any other use for this. So I won't do too much with it. I did level it, but I actually leveled it primarily for its second purpose, which is the refining of gems that you'll get when you're mining. So let's go ahead and get into this. So as I said before, and you've seen in the previous refining videos, we have kind of a pattern that New World's put into place, which is a 4-to-1, 6-to-1, 8-to-1 ratio. Anything below like a 100 crafting level is a 4-to-1 on average, and then anything between 100 and 175 is a 6-to-1, and then the refining components that are 175 and higher are 8-to-1. So what we see here is stone 4-to-1. Stone brick is once again 4 of the previous material and one of the refining components. And then what we'll see is lodestone, which is our next higher tier. You actually mine this at 110. Because I believe at 100 you get access to star metal. So they made, or 105. Lodestone is 105. So once again, we've crossed that 100 threshold, and we see a 6 of the raw material lodestone, as well as 2 of the previous crafted stone brick, and 1 refining component, which in this case is sandpaper as well. So I've touched on this in all the other videos. Refining components are important. Do not sell them. Save them. They are planning on reducing the amount you receive per a chest, which means that it's saving them now. It saves as a good backup way to make some gold, because when they stop dropping as much, there's going to be a skyrocket in the market, because this is needed. You need a lot of this stuff, to really get through crafting, which we'll see later in the crafting ones. Once we made it through all the refining stations, we only have leather next. But once that's done, just keep in mind, sandpaper is shared between both the woodworking and this. So just keep that in mind, especially if you do any kind of material conversion, which we'll cover here in a minute when we get down to that section. But lodestone bricks, you'll need sandpaper. As well as 6 of the raw material and 2 of the previous materials. And then we have gems. So I know in my last video I said if you're going to convert anything, I said use weak solvent, but save a little bit for gems. Don't want to focus too much on the conversion part just yet, because we're about to get there. But what I was meaning by that is, so we have some things here that require an actual arcana mat, or you can get it through mining and herbalism. But the higher the gem tier, the higher the moat has to be. So it goes moat to wisp to essence, and I can't remember the last set, but we'll look at that in the crafting section. So just keep in mind that when you are refining, not only do you need to level your stone cutting, you need to level your arcana to actually be able to produce higher level gems, which will be socketed into weapons and armor. So with that said, there are some plans that require solvent. So when we get to the higher tier, so here are our wisps, which is our arcana stations can convert moats into wisps. But you also need a solvent. And this is why I said to keep a hold of your solvents. Not to mention especially your higher level solvents, because the higher the solvent level, the better chance you have, or a bonus chance you have of getting an extra item out of a single crafting. Obviously, producing in a high volume gives you a higher chance to hit that percentage chance. But this is why you want to save solvent. You need solvent to make the gems, and you will want these gems. And then as you go up, there's our essences. Once again, we're going through that separate, but Arcana, motes, essence, or motes, wisps, essences. So you'll need the next tier. So you're going to have an Arcana level high enough and find an Arcana station high enough to convert those into essences or buy the essences. So if you're making enough money, just buy these outright, and you happen to have the diamonds and you just want to work on stone cutting, you can do that. But just keep that in mind. These are things that have to be upgraded in an Arcana station. And then your solvent once again. After the first tier of gems, every tier after that requires solvent. This does not follow the normal where it goes up as you go up in tier. It goes up in number of gems you need because gems are so rare chance to have them drop anyway. And the essences by themselves take quite a bit of motes to farm up. So this is their way of balancing that out. It's kind of a nice thing there. Another thing you can do with jewel crafting or gem cutting, it's actually still stone cutting. This isn't jewel crafting, this is stone cutting, but cutting precious stones, I should say. You can fuse stones together. So you can use some of the weaker gems. So if you start getting really like low quality gems, you can use some of the higher Arcana mats with a solvent to mesh these lower gems into higher grade gems. So that's important to note when you're doing this. So you even have brilliant gem infusions. So you can upgrade lower level gems to higher level status, which is good to know. So here we are into the refining component. The reason why you have both sandpaper and solvent, so you'll notice some refining stations only allow you to convert one thing as opposed to this one, which has got two different categories, solvents and sandpapers. That's because stone cutting requires sandpaper and gem cutting requires solvent. So once again, really want to have as much of these resources, even if you have to spread it across storage units in various cities. That's because they're going to lower that drop rates here soon. However, if you have to, since you don't need as many solvents to cut gems and refine them, if you really need to convert something, use solvents, but definitely save a little stockpile of them for working with gems, because it's going to be important for you later on. But once again, I covered this as well in all of my other videos. Material converters, I can definitely attest to the fact that the common material converter and the advanced material converter, so common is used for the white items, green items is the advanced. The common one is 100 of your faction points, the advanced one is 200, and I believe the masterwork, which is used for tier 5 refining components, is 300, but don't quote me on that one, I don't have one to look at right now. And then another thing that you can do at stone cutting tables, which is actually really important, you can make keys for dungeons. And the components for those keys, because you don't just craft the key by itself. So, in here where we say keys, we have eternal hearts, elemental hearts. You want to notice these are done with motes. These are done with different motes. They cross over Death, Life, Soul. Yeah, so there's different. We have an energy core, which is created by combining both hearts together, and then a Genesis core, which requires 3 of each of the hearts and some legendary materials. I have yet to use this. I know that I've seen some people dabbling in it. I think it's like a raid type thing, but still really important to have some knowledge on that. And these are big keys. These keys we'll go into some things down here, which we'll get into in just a second. I'm going to take one brief sidestep here and note that in stone cutting you can downgrade, but as I've recommended in every other video, don't break them down. Just go get the mats and craft them. You're using weak solvent, and you're going to lose out on materials doing this. It's cool they offer it, but I've yet to see a situation where it's actually worth it. Maybe we need to max tier all your crafting, all your gathering, all your refining are maxed out, and you're just like, I don't feel like doing it. I'll use some solvent I have left over. Fine. But while you're leveling these things, I wouldn't waste it. So that was my brief sidestep into that. I want to make sure I got that covered. But so we have these keys here. This is what we were just before. We also have things that you get from corruption events. I would not use any fragments and convert them into shards because some of the earlier tuning keys require the slivers and then and the fragments. So you want to make sure you keep in mind, don't upgrade the corrupted resources just willingly to get points. Cautiously do it. So I have mine in another bank, but I took my corrupted slivers and just tried to upgrade them, thinking, oh, I'll need that. But you need slivers for the Amarine tuning orb. So that's one example. So this corrupted refinement is used to get to higher keys or tuning orbs, which are basically essentially your key into the dungeon. So it's not that it's a bad thing, just be mindful before you just outright start refining. In this case, the chisels here, you can purchase chisels from your faction representative as well for faction points and gold. That's the only place you can get them. It's point sweet, the short and sweet of it. And then this one requires stone blocks and an eternal heart. So this is also where stone comes in. Should have mentioned that. I don't really do a lot with tuning orbs right now because I'm trying to just get to the point where I can get leveled. Not that these aren't important, but it evaded my mind here. So another reason that you want to work on stone cutting is eventually you're going to want to make these tuning orbs because you might get a few free tuning orbs for quests to go into a dungeon, but if you want to keep farming a dungeon over and over again, you're going to have to do the work to get in there. I mean, you can generally, kind of get in with other groups that have their quests to go in there and things like that. But if you want to farm them prolific, I can't say that word right now, so I guess we're going to say frequently, you want to be able to craft these. So obviously star metals, chisels, the next chisel up. The chisel grade goes up with your faction rank, so make sure you're doing your missions to increase your rank. So once you increase your reputation to a certain point and you hit a certain level threshold, you'll be told to go to a specific area, talk to the Covenant representative in that settlement, and they'll have a mission for you for the trial of whatever your title or next rank is you're going towards. But unlocking those ranks is what gets you access to these chisels. Generally costs, or upgraded components cost a little bit more. So once I do get to max level, I'm going to spend some time really figuring out how to farm different things like glowing swamp moss and trying to get some more information on specifically tuning orbs. Just know that this is how you get into dungeons. These tuning orbs are important, and that Genesis core we saw earlier is required to make the tuning orb. The core itself doesn't get you in the dungeon, the tuning orb does. And then I would go over a lot of what we have here, but we're gonna just cover this briefly because there's so much going on in there. So Obsidian Voidstone, obviously that's our next kind of stone that we can craft. It requires a resource that you actually get from mining alchemy stones, and then a sandpaper refining agent, 8 of the lodestone brick, which was our previous one, and 2 lodestone. So this is kind of doubling up on the lodestone. So not only do you have to farm for the lodestone bricks, but you also have to farm some more lodestone on top of that to craft these. We have some more gems here. The gems are pretty much standard. They just give more of whatever they do. And I may do a separate. I will have to do a separate video on the different types of gems here and the stats they give and explaining them, because there's just too much to cover as is in this particular section. We have obsidian sandpaper. We have some more cores, another type of heart. And then the Lazarus tuning orb. So my assumption is that is the furthest progressive content we have. And then we also have our epic stone region here. So So we'll cover into that. Hopefully when I get to level 16, I get to get the crafting all the way up, and I get to experiment with this more. I can give some more information specifically on these epic tier resources. So I know that was a lot of information. I tried to blow through it kind of quickly while hitting all the important notes. There's just a lot going on in stone cutting. When you first open it up, you're like, I make stone bricks, cool. But the number of gems in here, what they offer, we'll do that in a separate video, probably a separate series, because this is specifically just to show you where to craft certain things. But hopefully you found this helpful. If it was good information, please remember to click the like and subscribe button. Please feel free to drop comments in to let me know if there's any information you want in addition to what was provided here. So hopefully it was helpful. I hope you have a great rest of the day, and I hope to see you next time.